Today is December 13th, 2023. The time is 1:42 p.m. And this video will speak for itself. This is an article that's in the Times of Israel, and it's dated December 12th, 2023. And the headline speaks volumes. I am a Zionist, says Biden at Hanukkah event, promises continued military assistance to Israel. This document that's before us, right here, let's get this nice and big. We'll say I'll just read but the parts that will make the most sense. 3379, elimination of all forms of racial discrimination. The General Assembly, recalling its Resolution 1904 of 20 November 1963, proclaiming the United Nations Declaration on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, and in particular, its affirmation that any doctrine of racial differentiation or superiority is scientifically false, morally condemnable, socially unjust, and dangerous, and its expression of alarm at the manifestation of racial discrimination still in evidence in some areas in the world, some of which are imposed by certain governments by means of legislative, administrative, or other measures. This is put emphasis right here, recalling also that in its resolution 3151G of 14 December 1973, the General Assembly condemned inter alia the unholy alliance between South African racism and Zionism. Taking note also of the political declaration and strategy to strengthen international peace and security and to intensify solidarity and mutual assistance among non-aligned countries, adopted at a conference of ministers for foreign affairs of non-aligned countries held at Lima from 25 to 30 August 1975, which most severely condemned Zionism as a threat to world peace and security, and called upon all countries to oppose this racist and imperialist ideology, determines that Zionism is a form of racism and racial discrimination. I want you to look at something. Now, I didn't go there. Let me go back here to highlight one thing here. Note that this is dated 10 November 1975. This is Joe Biden's record in his service to the United States. His service to the United States began January 5th, 1971. Pay attention to the dates. He began serving this country January 5th, 1971. And this document saying that Zionism is a form of racism and racial discrimination is dated 10 November 1975. Okay? This is the American Presidency Project. Statement on signing a bill calling upon the United Nations to repeal General Assembly Resolution 3379, saying that Zionism, we'll let the record speak for itself. This is June 29th, 1990. I have today signed SJ Resolution 246, a joint resolution of Congress calling upon the United Nations to repeal General Assembly Resolution 3379, which declared Zionism to be a form of racism and racial discrimination. SJ Res 246 requests the President to report periodically to the Congress on progress made to repeal the resolution. The United States vigorously opposed the 1975 adoption of the pernicious proposition in the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, Resolution 3379, that Zionism is a form of racism. We continue to work actively for its renunciation. It is long overdue that all of the member states of the United Nations join us in renouncing UNGA Resolution 3379. I want you to pay attention to the date. World Conference Against Racism. Secretary Colin L. Powell, Washington, D.C., September 3rd, 2001. Pay attention to the date. Today, I have instructed our representatives at the World Conference Against Racism to return home. I have taken this decision with regret, because of the importance of the international fight against racism and the contribution that the conference could have made to it. But following discussions today by our team in Durban and others who are working for a successful conference, I am convinced that will not be possible. I know that you do not combat racism by conferences that produce declarations containing hateful language, some of which is a throwback to the days of Zionism equals racism, or supports the idea that we have made too much of the Holocaust, or suggests that apartheid exists in Israel, or that singles out only one country in the world, Israel, for censure and abuse. I deeply respect the goals of South African President Mbeki and Foreign Minister Zuma in hosting this conference. I strongly support the good work of Secretary General Annan to try to make it come out right. The United States and delegations interested in a successful outcome had worked productively in Durban on other key issues of the conference and were hopeful that they could be resolved. I wish that it could have turned out more successfully. Released on September 3rd, 2001. Our president, Zionism equals racism, and our president saying, I'm a Zionist. U.S. President Joe Biden. He says, the warmth and connection I feel to the Jewish community is unquestionable. Biden added that I ran into trouble and criticism when I said a few years ago that you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist, and I am a Zionist. I'll let it go. I'll leave it there.